Good day from the Harvest Right family. Today we're going to do a video on how to replace your epoxy harness. To begin, we'll be removing the back and the top panels. We have videos on how to do that, so please refer to those links in order to get your back and top panel off if you need help with that. We're going to jump right in and show how to remove the side panel, and then we'll show how to replace the epoxy harness itself. So we're going to show how to remove this side panel. This will be the right side panel on your freeze dryer. You actually don't need to remove this panel to replace your epoxy harness, but it will give you a little bit more space to work in. So we're going to show how to do it, but again, this is optional. So the side panel is really only connected with 2 screws. There's one down here on the back side, and then there's one right up here, just behind your slide in and slide out components. So we'll be sliding this out so that you can access the screw there, as well as accessing the one down here. Okay, so the first screw that you'll need to remove is just right here. It's connecting the base of your freeze dryer to the side panel. We've already removed this screw, but you would just come in right here and remove that using a 1/8 Allen wrench. Okay, the last screw that you'll need to remove for the side panel is right here. In order to access it, you'll need to remove your electronic slide out component. So we're just going to tilt it up and then slide it out, and you can just kind of set it in your chamber right here to the side, and then there will be a screw right here that you'll just need to remove, again using a 1/8 Allen wrench. And once you have that screw out, you should be able to remove the side panel. Okay, so Harvest Right will send you a new epoxy harness. This is the harness, and then it'll also come with a new plastic connector piece that we will show you how to install to match the connector coming out of your shelving unit. Okay, so first thing is make sure your freeze dryer is turned off and unplugged from the wall. Then we're going to go ahead and open the door and remove our door gasket. And then we're going to go ahead and remove the shelving rack. Next, you'll want to disconnect your shelving rack from the existing harness that's coming out of your chamber. Just like that. Next, you're going to take your existing epoxy harness, and this little plastic clip sometimes has a hard time fitting through the chamber opening that's in the back right corner back there. So we're just going to go ahead and actually cut this off just to make it easier for us later. So you'll just take a regular pair of scissors and just go ahead and cut that, and you can just set that aside. So back here we have our epoxy harness. Your freeze dryer might have zip ties holding the harness with some other wires. In order to remove the harness and replace it, we're going to need to cut these zip ties. So again, just a regular pair of scissors. So our next step is going to be to follow these wires that are coming out of your harness. They're going to be connecting over here on your electronics. So we're going to just slide out the electronics and then follow these wires. And we just need to unplug the end of these wires from the electronics. You'll slide out your electronics. You can just set it like that. So basically you just want to follow the 2 power wires, and wherever you see that those connect, for us it's right here on this heat relay, that's where you're going to want to unplug from. Same concept if it's up here. Again, there's different configurations on the electronics. So we're going to go ahead and pull these 2 wires off. And then the 2 skinnier wires that come out of your epoxy harness, if you follow those, you can see that they are attaching right here to J17 on your relay board. Again, depending on your configuration, that plug-in might be up here in one of these slots. Again, the concept is the same, just follow the wires out of your harness. Wherever those wires plug in, we're just going to go ahead and unplug, and you can just set that aside. So these are the wires that you just disconnected, and these are all the wires that should be coming out of your epoxy harness. Just make sure that these are disconnected before moving to the next step. This will make it a lot easier to unscrew and replace the epoxy harness. Okay, next we're going to remove this harness piece using a wrench. This is a size 27 wrench, but an adjustable wrench will work just the same. So once you get this out, remember we've already cut the plastic piece, so you can just go ahead and pull this whole thing out. Next, you're going to take your new epoxy harness from Harvest Right. You want to take the end that has the 4 silver pins, and we're going to insert that into your chamber right here, and just kind of feed that through until you get to about there. So before we put this in, you want to apply some Teflon tape, and we recommend 3 to 5 wraps, no less than 3, no more than 5. And you want to make sure that you are applying this in the same direction that you're going to be screwing in the new epoxy harness piece, so that you don't unthread the Teflon tape as you thread in the epoxy harness. And then you can just kind of press your Teflon tape into the threads. Make sure it's nice and tight. Next, you can go ahead and start threading this back in. You'll turn it to the right. And you can use your hand until it gets too tight. And then we'll go back to the wrench. You want to make sure and get this as tight as you possibly can so that there's no air leaks in your system when you go to pull a vacuum. Okay, so now we're going to follow your wires again from here. There's 2 thick wires and 2 skinny wires. The thick wires power the heat relay. So you're going to take these, and on our model, these 2 connect right into our heat relay right here. On your model, it's possible that these are actually combined into one connector, and they may plug in to one of these slots right here. You basically just want to plug them in wherever you disconnected them from with your old epoxy harness. So again, in our case, these connect right here. And then our skinny wires feed into this little white piece, which connects on our relay board right here at J17. Again, yours might connect somewhere else. You just want to make sure that you're reconnecting it wherever you disconnected it from earlier, whether it's on your board or on a connector up here. Okay, once you have your wires reconnected, you can go ahead and put your electronics module, just slide it back into place at the top of your freeze dryer. Next, you're going to take your new plastic connector piece that you got in your epoxy harness kit, and we're actually going to go ahead and just plug it in to your shelving unit connector. You can see there's a tab here at the top that just slides and locks into place. And we won't have any wires going in just yet, but that will be your first step. So on your epoxy harness coming out of your vacuum chamber, you can see that this harness has 2 thicker wires and 2 skinnier wires coming out of it. The 2 thick wires are the power to the shelf, and the 2 skinny wires are thermistor or temperature sensor wires. It's very important to make sure that as you plug these wires into the 4 holes right here, that we're matching up with the 2 thick wires that are coming out of your shelving unit, as well as the 2 skinny wires. So as you can see here on our model, the 2 skinny wires are sort of on the bottom, and they're actually shrink wrapped together, but you might be able to see that there's 2 skinny wires within that shrink wrap, and they're going in to the 2 slots on bottom. So again, we have our 2 thicker power wires that we can see are coming out of the shelf, and they're coming in matching up with these top 2 holes near our little plug right here. So we're going to take our 2 thicker wires and plug them into these spots. Just gonna go ahead like that, and you just want to push those in as far as you can get them to go. And then we're going to take our skinnier wires and plug those into the back 2 slots. Again, just push them in as far as you can get them to go. Once you have these wires inserted fully, you should not see any of the silver ends up here. We're going to go ahead and disconnect it, and you should see all 4 of your pins flush just like that. If any one of those 4 pins are not flush and all the way in, you'll have to just push on your wires from the back side until you see those inserted just like that. Once you have your wires in all the way just like this, we're going to take this final piece from your epoxy harness kit and insert it into your connector in order to lock these wires into place. Just like that. Once you have that last piece snapped into place, you can go ahead and just plug this back in. And then you are ready to roll. To finish this up, go ahead and just slide your shelving rack back into place. And then we'll take the door gasket, put it back on. And then finally we can go ahead and close the door. Your last step would be replacing the panels that you removed for this video. And so you could go ahead and put your top panel and then your back panel and your side panel back into place. Once you're finished replacing your panels, you should be able to continue freeze drying. If you have any questions or need any help doing the epoxy harness replacement, please feel free to give us a call at Harvest Right Support, and we'd be happy to help you. Thanks and have a great day.